The reason why you have to master one skill is because of this. There's what you're born with, your potential, right? You learn language. That's actually one of the most important skills. People underrate the how much of your brain is unlocked through language, verbal language. People don't understand that, right? Because you never not had language, right? But it does unlock capabilities in the brain. In other words, learning things, wiring things in your brain through repetitive action unlock certain parts of your brain that will help you in other areas you just don't know. And let me tell you why. Usually when you come into this world, your brain is a mush and it's waiting for you to create connections. It's waiting for you to repeat actions in order to wiring connections, right? And the reason why is when you're an adult, your brain, the more you wire things into your brain, the more you learn about this, the more you learn about that, the more you work with your hands and develop a good neural wiring connection with your fingers. That means learning how to type. That means learning how to play with cards. That means learning how to play basketball. That means learning how to draw. That means sculpting. Anything that requires dexterity and anything that requires wiring, like doing the drums. I play the drums, like giving yourself different skill sets, especially if it's focused in one thing. What it does is that one, it gives you an opportunity, meaning you can use that skill set to get an opportunity to get to work here, to get this job, to do this, to get into the school, right? But it also gives you an opportunity to create neural wiring. And why is that? Because the neural wirings you create whenever you are learning something is a glimpse of reality. In other words, you're learning drawing, for example, right? You're learning how to draw, you're learning how to paint the right way. In order for you to do that correctly, you have to be in touch with reality. You have to know the rules of painting. You have to know how the body looks. You have to know what causes the changes in the face. Why is this darker and why is this different than this? All of these things are aspects of reality. It's real. You can't paint a face realistically without having an understanding of reality itself. And so once you wire those things in, now your brain has been grounded in reality. That now your brain could say, okay, this is reality. And then you learn, and then you learn something else. Let's just say you learn chemistry, for example, right? Or let's just say you learn basketball, for example, right? Now you got this, or meditation. Now you have this wiring that is based on reality because you learned how to do it. Now you're learning basketball, for example. Now you're learning the true mechanics of basketball. So you learn to put the ball over here and shoot. Right, and then not only that, but you also get a sensation. When you shoot the right way, it feels like a catapult. You get good at it now, right? You might say, how does that work? Well, now you got two things that your brain is grounded in reality, and then it creates so then you try to learn something else, and what you'll notice is that your brain will literally use what it already knows to accelerate learning that one thing. And then let's just say you've mastered that one thing. All of a sudden now you got three modes of reality, three places that your brain says this is reality. And it honestly, it feels like the more things you master, it just feels like your brain goes in so many different directions with some coherence. It's not just the fact that you're learning something, but that you're creating neural pathways to facilitate thinking and connectivity. Those are realities. Every time I learn something, I'm looking about it from the perspective of dating, from the perspective of addiction, from the perspective of art, from the perspective of basketball, from the perspective of meditation, and from the perspective of human nature. These are things that I've studied, that I've confirmed, that I've studied the opposite. In other words, if I believe that men are white, I'll study that men are black, for example, right? As an example. When you allow yourself to study the opposite, the contrary beliefs of what you believe or what you know, it allows you to see deeper into reality. Because there are things that the other side that you don't like, for example, have that you just don't know. If you have a friend and he murders someone, and there's evidence, because you like your friend, you would never allow yourself to entertain the thought that they maybe murder someone, for example. In other words, you won't allow yourself to look into reality itself because you have an emotional bias. Your friend may have murdered someone, but you don't allow your brain to go to that reality. So it kind of like blocks you from learning new things. So studying the opposite temporarily as an exercise in creativity, and then dropping it when you feel like you don't need it. So what I'm trying to tell you, man, if you don't learn that one skill, you won't be able to elevate yourself to higher forms of thinking. One skill, one simple skill, language, for example, it's one. Learn something else, master something, because then your brain will use that thing that it learned, and which is based on reality, and it'll use it to compare it to other things. For example, if I say that if I play basketball and I learned that when you're practicing, you first practice shooting one-handed, right? And then you get further and further. And then once you're done with that, then you start incorporating dribbles. One dribble pull up, right? Then you accelerate it. You do dribble, pull up, dribble, pull up, right? And then you get further. One dribble pull up, right? And then you learn through that when you're practicing or anything worth learning, it starts slow and then it accelerates. And so you say, okay, so in basketball, I realized that if I practice slow, first start with the fundamentals, and then you accelerate to do more high intensity things, right? How does this apply? Okay, so now I'm studying animals. You realize, okay, the smartest animals usually have the longest gestation period, just like in basketball. The ones who had the most skills are those who practice the fundamentals first, slowly, and then sped up the process towards the end. So it's the same thing with animals. Interesting. When you're drawing and doing a painting, you don't first start out with painting. You first start out with doing a small drawing, and then a bigger drawing, and then you transfer the drawing, and then you first do a black and white painting, and then you do the color painting. You first start slow, and then you accelerate towards the end, right? Or you do your research first, right? Hours, months of research, like with my courses. And then in the last few weeks, then after you've done all your research, then you accelerate and start recording. These are realities that you understand when you immerse yourself in the reality of a topic. And that reality will literally be a light that will shine light onto other realities. But you first have to base yourself into something, and it could be anything. You could be studying hands, you could be studying hot sauce, anything. If it's something that exists in this world, mastering it and understanding the details will give you glimpse into other areas of life, because everything is interconnected. So the first thing you first want to master is what's in front of you, yourself. Observe yourself, practice meditation, see why you are the way you are. And what you'll notice is that by understanding yourself, you'll be able to do more. Understanding and mastering yourself. So you'll say, okay, I seem to like basketball. Okay, let me practice basketball. And then you play basketball, and then you realize you're not that good, and now you feel bad. And you're like, okay, what should I do? Then you start developing the motivation to practice more. And now all of a sudden, trying to master this, you realize you have physical deficiencies or mental deficiencies. You're not motivated enough. So then by practicing, you start to know yourself. Okay, you're interesting, right? Now, okay, let me find a way to motivate myself. You read a book on motivation. You write it down. Okay, you realize something worked, and now you get good at basketball. Now you start practicing, and it's been a few months, and all of a sudden you feel confident. You're like, oh my God, I'm a completely different person than before. So it's not just the fact that mastering something simple at first gives you glimpses into the reality that allows you to see their interconnected whole, but it also develops you. It shows you your limitations, so that then once you're done with that, you could use that simple skill that you learned to master other things. Why is that? For example, with basketball, when you first are mastering something, initially your brain is using up a lot of your frontal cortex. It's using manual labor. It's thinking, okay, with the hand right here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, follow through. And then after a while, you master that so much that you stop using your frontal cortex, and those skills get ingrained deeper into the brain, where you stop thinking about it, right? Now you're shooting automatically, and you can't even explain why you shoot so well. So now you have the mental space. Now your frontal cortex is not being used to do this simple skill. So now you use your frontal cortex, because now you have more space to then do the dribble pull-up. Now all of a sudden your brain is more engaged. Dribble pull-up, and it's harder to do. Dribble pull-up, and it's harder to do. But then after a while, it gets automatic. So now now this is automatic. Now I gotta do something harder to engage more. Now what happened? 2 skills have just been deeply ingrained, right? Now you go on to dribble, pull up, pump fake, spin move, fade away, right? Now you're doing more complicated moves. Simple moves, simple skills allow you to stack on higher level skills. And the most important thing is how it affects your thinking. Even learning with your hands, if you just using your brain, like your mind to learn something, you got to learn to use your hands, right? Learning to wire skills with these hands gives your brain, gives your mind and your unconscious more room to explore. If you don't use your hands, the part of the brain that is wired to have an interconnectivity with the brain, anytime you're trying to think and it goes through those areas where they're supposed to be wiring with your hands, it's gonna go like, let's just say you're thinking, right? This is your thinking area, and then you go to the area where the fingers are and all that kind of stuff is wired. It'll be like a lag, and then once it's done, it'll go out, right? You want this, and that's why you got to use your hands. And you might say it's irrelevant. I do science. By using your hand, you are giving your brain better roads. It's like roads with no potholes, roads with no floods. These are straight roads that you could use your car and just accelerate through. You may not use your hand. Knitting may not be used in your science, but it's the fact that you're wiring in. You're creating a mind, body, hand coordination type of thing that facilitates thinking. Why? Because your hands evolved with your brain. Your hands literally evolved in conjunction with your brain. So using this, learning to use these with skills that are wired and it gets automatic and gets deeply ingrained in the brain is as important as thinking and moving. It's one thing, you don't have to develop skills with your freaking legs, people. These hands take up more parts of your brain than any part of your body. Well, maybe the mouth, like developing language, eyes, right? But this, it's just so important. So too many people don't know how to build things with their hands. Don't have skill sets with their hands. Fuck soccer, man. Play basketball, right? Learn to throw a pitch. Learn to do the violin. Learn to draw. Learn how to play with cards, shuffle cards. You learn how to use the dexterity of your hands. Once you do that, I'm telling you, man, it's like your brain it's like highways that are functioning properly and there's no hitches and there's no traffic. It's just straight. These realities allows you to use basketball, for example, to help you with math, for example. I'm just saying, for example. Or maybe painting allows me to understand human nature, right? Well, because if you actually learned painting, it's a glimpse of reality that if you literally impose it onto something like going like this, if you impose it onto something, it'll literally match the most unrelated field. Put painting and try to use painting to learn more about physics. I swear to you, there's going to be, if it's based on reality, you're going to find the commonalities, and then the art is going to allow you to learn better physics, and vice versa. Or meditation, you learn meditation. You learn how to discipline yourself. You learn how to be more patient. And then all of a sudden you do art, and that wiring of the patience that you develop through meditation is used with your art. Or maybe you do art and you want to focus more, so you start doing more meditation like I did. And all of a sudden your art takes you to another reality of deeper meditations. People, I use addiction, because I have my problems, to help understand love and relationships, right? I use the only reality, not the only, but I use a reality that I knew, superimpose it and ask myself, what are similar with addictions and love? And then you realize that you don't have to learn all the things of love, because there's parts that you already know, and then because you have a unique perspective, there are things about love that other people just cannot see. And the more you do this over your life, the more you're gonna expand on your skills. Your mind is gonna be able to go in so many different directions, because you give your mind, it's almost like rooms. Each thing you master is an extra room that your mind can wander and explore and use for connection. It'll come to the point where your skills and your knowledge is so diverse that it begins to reflect nature itself, its true diversity. And that's when you become a true master. Oh, people. One of my favorite subjects. If you guys want to learn about this and want to work with me one-on-one, click on the description down below where it says work with me one-on-one, or you could purchase my course Emotional Mastery, where I teach you guys how to master your emotions and all that kind of stuff. Okay, anyways, take care. Bye-bye. All right, people, if you guys enjoy that type of content, if you guys want to work with me one-on-one and you guys have some situations you guys want me to answer, maybe somebody's playing you, maybe somebody doesn't like you, maybe you want to make somebody like you, maybe you want to tell me your situation and see what I think, you guys can click on the description down below and purchase a one-on-one phone coaching call with me that is completely confidential and nobody knows about it. And there I'll be able to give you my personal opinion about your situation. And at the end of the day, when you work with me, you're gonna get answers, all right? The point is that you're not gonna waste your time. If you guys want to do that, click on the description down below. Those are the one-on-one private confidential phone calls. And if you guys want to be able to, for me to answer your questions, like you see in my videos where I answer questions, you guys can book an email coaching session, which is more affordable, and you guys can change things around and nobody will know it's you. And there you'll be able to get a one-on-one type of coaching, and I'll be able to post it on YouTube. And the beauty about it is that nobody finds out because you could just change your name, people. You say you're in China, I'm gonna say you're in Australia. Nobody's gonna find out, people. Now, I wanna make it clear. The private one-on-one phone call are private, confidential. The email coaching calls, as you guys can see, are things that I post on YouTube. They're more affordable and they let me post a video on it. As long as you change things around, nobody will know it's you. So don't be shy, man. I love working with people, and at the end of the day, it's my passion to help people. You guys have no idea how happy this makes me to be able to help you guys at an individual basis. And at the end of the day, you're gonna get my honest advice. A lot of people bullshit you just to bring you back as a customer. If you guys are looking for that honest advice, this is the guy for you. Okay? See you guys.